All right, this morning we have two of the legendary Doolittle Raiders with us. We had 80 men take off that morning back April 18th, 1942, and 16 B-25s, just like this aircraft that's here in front of you. Of that 80 men, we are down to the last 5 gentlemen. And we have 2 of those gentlemen here with us today, as I said. We have Colonel Dick Cole and Major Tom Griffiths. And I'm going to give them the mic here in a little bit, have them just kind of talk about some of their experiences, and then we'll go ahead and we'll open it up for a little question and answer, a little Q&A time here. Okay. Now I'm going to ask this question. I'm going to see everybody raise their hand, I hope. You all know about the Tokyo Doolittle raid and the Raiders, correct? Yes. Copy that. Copy that. All right. Well, again, I'm going to give Tom the microphone first. Tom has got a little bit of a unique story. He and Davy Jones went up to Washington to talk to intelligence and get maps and stuff so they could go down and plan their mission and have the most up-to-the-date information they could at the time. And then I'll let Dick talk about their training. Most of these guys were out west, and when the call came out, they went to South Carolina, and I'll let Dick talk about that. All righty. So, Tom, tell them a little bit about when you guys went up to Washington to make plans for the raid.
The boss, Jimmy Doolittle, just happened to pick me and a fellow named Davy Jones to go up and report to Air Force Intelligence in Washington, D.C. about a mission that we were planning. So we went up there. We spent about 10 days with Air Force Intelligence in Washington, D.C., and we got together the maps, enough maps to furnish 20 planes and target information. We had to know where the specific factories and military institutions were that we were going to be taking on as targets. And we spent about about 8 or 10 days in Washington, D.C., getting all that information together to equip 20 planes. And then I can't get the dates right, but in about late May, I guess, we flew back to Washington, D.C., and from there we headed out to the West Coast to prepare to get on our carrier and take off for our voyage. Do you want to take it from here? We're in the carrier now.
Okay. I'll give you a little history. The 17th Bomber Group was stationed at Pendleton, Oregon. And at that time, they were flying B-18s and B-123s. Now this was in September, October, and December 1942. 41, yeah. We got orders to move from Pendleton to Columbia, South Carolina. And the scuttlebutt was that we were going to train there for a while and then go to Africa. We got to Columbia. They put out the word they were looking for people to volunteer on a mission. They didn't tell you what it was or anything. They just said it was a dangerous mission. Well, the whole group volunteered, even the group commander. And out of the group in total, they picked 24 crews. And we don't know how it was done or anything. We just followed orders. And we were transferred to Eglin Field, Florida. And one of the big reasons we were sent to Eglin was that it was one of the largest bases in the Army Air Corps, and it was more or less secluded, and it was picked because of the security. We went to Eglin and immediately started training. We were flew long-range missions, low level, to Houston and Miami. The navigators were given celestial training. Some of them already knew it, but they were briefed on some of the later methods of it. And it was about 45 days that we trained there. Around the 25th of March, we were given orders to fly to the West Coast. And Colonel Doolittle got a message from General Arnold that said, Jimmy, get on your horse. So we flew to Alameda, California, and loaded on the carrier. And on April the 2nd, we set sail on the mission. At 2 days at sea, we were all startled by the PA system that came on and just said, "This force is bound for Tokyo." At that time, there was a lot of jubilation and so forth, but and everything got quiet. People began to wonder what they were doing there and what have I got myself into. And the word was that if you don't want to go, you can walk home. So, anyway, originally the raid was planned for the 19th of April, with the first airplane taking off at dusk. And the plan was that the first airplane which was loaded with incendiary bombs, was to light up Tokyo for two reasons. One, to do as much damage as the bombs could do as far as burning up Tokyo. The other one was to give the following airplanes a reference point, because we didn't fly in formation. We flew what they call a loose trail. You didn't even see the other airplane. But as it was, it didn't work out that way. We were supposed to fly all night and land at a pre-designated place in China and gas up and fly on farther west in China, a place called Kunming. And if the plan worked like it was supposed to, we would become part of the 14th Air Force. Most of the airplanes, or all the airplanes, made it to China, except one that went to Russia. We arrived over the Chinese coast at dusk on the 18th, and there was a big warm front over China at that time. It was a big help to us because it created a wind, a tailwind, called a kamikaze wind, or divine wind. And had it not been for the tailwind, we would, most of us would have ended up in the drink, which nobody wanted to do. All the crews bailed out successfully. We lost one man that something happened to his chute. But the warm front created a lot of rough air, rain, wind, and lightning, and the precarious part of it was that the terrain we were over was an area that looked like ice cream cones turned upside down. They had vegetation and trees on it originally, but the Chinese had logged them off, where you only had a very little peak at the top that had trees and so forth. Some of the guys sprained their ankles, shoulders, and so forth because it was a very loose shale, and it was pretty tricky trying to walk on it. Everybody started to walk the next day toward to the west. I think most of us had compasses.
I think we did, yeah.
But, we chose to go west because going east would be into the hands of the Japanese. And eventually, after maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we were all together in Chongqing, China. And we were given a physical there, and since most everybody had lost all their clothes and belongings, we were sent to Calcutta, India, where we re-outfitted and any other things you needed. And originally, we were told that if you survived the mission, you would get to come home. Well, there were 20 of us that the orders got lost, or something happened that we didn't receive orders, and so we stayed over there. Tom was one of the, I guess the backdoor compliment. He got orders to come home.
I didn't get that, did what? What you said?
I told him about you. You got orders to come home.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But the backside of that was that he got retrained and sent to Africa. But I stayed there, flying out of China and India. And most everybody that everybody that went on the raid ended up in another theater and so forth, and doing different missions. That's about it.
Good. Thanks, Dick and Tom. You want to say something? You want to say something? I'm going to open up the question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Magic. Dick got us over to the European, the western part of the world, and some of the rest of us, after getting back in the States, were retrained mostly on P-26s, and we flew over the northern route, Labrador, Greenland, Iceland, and down in the invasion of North Africa in the fall of 42. Yeah, 42. And we joined, General Doolittle was now in command of our Air Force down there in North Africa. And we flew against the enemy, the German Luftwaffe. We drove them out of Tunisia and then Libya and Sardinia, and gradually up on the Italian peninsula. But that was our war experience after the Doolittle raid. Some of us didn't do too well. We ended up as members of the University of Saigon in Germany. I spent 2 years there as a prisoner of war, having been shot down on my second mission out of North Africa over Sicily, and had a great bunch of memories of that lovely place until the war ended in 45. That's a rough idea of our experiences.
Does anybody, this is your opportunity to ask a couple of questions. Does anybody have anything they'd like to know? If you do, please step up to the mic and ask away.
Bunch of bashful people. No question.
Can you talk about your takeoffs from the carriers, what that was like?
About your character.
Take off from the carrier.
Early on, everybody believed that takeoff would be the most challenging thing. But as it worked out, that was the easiest thing. We had about 25 knots of wind, natural wind, and about the same amount of carrier speed. And we figured that we only needed about 20 or 25 knots more to become airborne. And as I remember the takeoff, we were off well before the end of the deck. And incidentally, the gentleman that wrote 30 Seconds Over Tokyo, Lieutenant Lawson, or Captain Lawson, so there was a mix-up in the cockpit, and they took off without flaps. And that's the airplane you see in the pictures that sinks down, and he recovers it well, and they made it off. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Any other questions, folks?
I have a question for Major Giffen. How did you navigate from the Hornet to Japan and then to China?
Yes. Well, we took off.
Yeah.
We knew our approximate position, as navigators sometimes knew, and we took sun lines. Of course, this was daytime, and we took sun lines to give us our course into China. And two of us hit Chongqing right on the nose. The rest of them went in south of China, north of China, and as a result, when they got oriented where they were, the Chinese said that they were attacked by 80 planes. There were only 16 of us altogether, but they were coming in from every direction. The Chinese were thoroughly confused as to what was happening. And so we flew in. In our plane, we just happened to go over the Emperor's Palace at about 50 feet. Now, we had strict orders not to bother the old boy, not to bomb his or machine gun his house there. But we just happened to fly right over at 50 feet. And we probably scared him down into some escape tunnels down beneath his house there. And we flew on to southern China, ended up eventually in Burma, India. Now, Dick stayed over in that part of the country, but I was ordered home with a bunch of the Doolittle Raiders. And a lot of us spent some times in the hospital with malaria in India and then proceeded on. Altogether, the mission was a great success. It upset the enemy a great deal.
Thank you.
Okay?
Any other questions, folks?
Sure. I'm curious to know what was your position, your duties on the aircraft? Were you both pilots or navigators? Were you both
I was a navigator.
navigator?
Dick was a co-pilot.
Okay, I just wanted to know.
And Tom was the navigator. Colonel Cole was the co-pilot that morning. Okay. Well, I see there's some children here in the audience, and I appreciate that, parents, as to these gentlemen. When's the last time you went to your high school and took a look at the U.S. history book? How many pages talk about World War II? Not too many of them. So get your children involved. If they've got relatives, mothers and fathers, Rosie the Riveters, aunts and uncles that took part in the war, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, that was my war. Now we've got Afghanistan and Iraq. So get the kids involved, let them know the history. We've got brave men and women out there that sacrifice for us so we can have the freedoms that we have today. For kids, 30 Seconds Over Tokyo is a great movie to have them watch. They like to look at things. A little visual stimulation is pretty good. Dave Thatcher is still with us, and Dave says that movie depicts pretty accurately the events that happened on that mission. And as Paul Harvey would say, now you know the rest of the story. Tom talked about it. He and Davy Jones were in Stalag Luft 3. They helped dig the tunnels. Tom got rid of the dirt. He was a penguin. Dick flew the hump. You all familiar with the hump, the Himalaya Mountains? Pretty high up there in the sky. Well, Dick flew DC C-47s, DC-3s, C-46s, and then Dick was also part of the first Air Commandos. So they not only started the war on a pretty monumentous event, they also ended the war pretty spectacular too. So let's give them a big round of applause. Now give yourselves a round of applause. Yep. And there will be up at the hangar there. C.V. Glimes' book is for sale. C.V. is the official historian of the Doolittle Raiders. He also wrote General Doolittle's biography, I Could Never Be So Lucky Again. C.V. has got it right. It's an excellent account. And this is not a sales pitch, but it's a good book. We've got them up there for sale, $40, and you get the two gentlemen's autograph inside. So come on up. We've got some other stuff for sale, payback. And just so you all know, the money that the Tokyo Doolittle Raiders sell, they don't get any of this money. It's not, 5 o'clock somewhere for, margarita or beer time. The money that they collect goes into the scholarship fund, and at every reunion, and we just had the 69th reunion last month, they give scholarships out to students that are going into some sort of aviation type background, and anywhere from $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 gets given out at each reunion for scholarships. So that's where this money goes, and I think it's a pretty worthy cause. And next year we'll be in Dayton, Ohio for the 70th reunion, folks, so come on down.
Approximately 11:30, show center on the tarmac. We're going to pull out the P-51 Mustang, and Colonel Bud Anderson's going to do a talk over at the main hangar area. So just find the Mustang at around 11:30. Colonel Bud Anderson, Triple Ace, 357th Fighter Group will be doing a talk. Thank you all for coming.